Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Vanessa. I will be your instructor for the duration of this online class. Thank you for joining us. We love having you here at Sippin' and Painting Hampden, and at some point we are absolutely going to be opening back up, and we are looking forward to seeing you all here and painting with us. So today what we're going to be doing is this super awesome Colorado flag inspired artwork. So we've got the mountains, the Colorado flag in there, the symbol, and the skyline. All right, so if you don't have acrylic paint, which is what I'm going to be using today, you can use oil paint, watercolor, crayons, colored pencils, anything that you have at your house, okay? I'm sure that you can get creative and use any medium that you'd like. So we're just going to keep it super basic today. We've got the three colors here, the yellow, red, blue. We've got some silver, or you can use light gray if you'd like. You could use some white paint if you have it. Otherwise, you can just paint directly on a white canvas and just not paint where the white is, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and get started. First thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna just start with a medium brush. What I'm using today is I've got a large, medium, small, and a fan brush. I'm gonna use a fan brush to paint some trees a little bit later on. Just use whatever you have. If you only have one paintbrush, you can absolutely just get away with using one brush. Might take a little bit longer, but it can be done. All right, so let's get started. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to use my smallest brush, and I'm going to start outlining where my mountains are. So I'm imagining that my painting is in, my canvas is in three sections, a stripe across the top and then one across the bottom, and in the center, that's kind of where the white is going to be. Okay, so about a few inches down from the top, I'm just gonna start drawing in some mountains. A key point to remember here is just not to make them all identical. Give them a little variation, just like this, all the way across the top, but you want to keep that nice thick area at the top open for your sky. So here we've got the basic outline of our mountains. Then I'm going to take my medium brush, so a little bit bigger than the first one I just used, and I'm going to just pick up plenty of blue. Now that I have my outline, I can just go right against that line and fill in the sky. So once you have your mountains drawn out, go ahead and fill in all of these areas above the mountains, including the sides of your canvas. If you have a stretched canvas like I do, you want to make sure that you paint all four sides. All right, so I'm just going to turn the music up as you paint along with me. Take your time. If you need to pause this video for whatever reason, please do so, and then just rewind or fast forward ahead to where you left off. All right, so what I've done here is I've gone ahead and filled in this entire top area with my blue paint. And sometimes you have to go over it a second time with a second coat of paint. I like to let this dry completely before I do that though. So I'm gonna jump down to the bottom area of my painting here. If you accidentally made a mess, you maybe accidentally dabbed some blue somewhere where it should be white, you can always just use your white paint. Sometimes I just dot it on there with my finger if I make a little mistake there, okay? So that's always nice to do if you need the white paint. All right, so let's take a look at our original. So you'll see that this area is painted blue, and then we have this nice heavy area of blue at the bottom as well. So I'm just going to create about a 3-inch stripe down down the bottom of the canvas all the way across. Depending on how big your canvas is, maybe you're not using one as large as mine, so you just want those proportions to be about the same. So it's kind of thinking of it as thirds. 1, 2, 3 sections. All right, so let's go ahead and do that together. I'm using my medium brush, loading it up with blue. I'm gonna try to get a line going across as straight as I can. You don't need a ruler or anything, you just wanna kind of make it as straight as you can. And then just go ahead and go all the way across with your blue paint, and take your time. I'm going to paint a little bit quickly, but you take your time as needed, and then you want to make sure that you do your sides and the bottom of your canvas as well. All right, so now that I've gotten that bottom strip painted, I'm going to let that dry. In the meantime, this top area is drying. You really want to be mindful that you allow your painting to dry for the full amount of time so that you don't get your colors muddied up, or make it look kind of messy and gloppy, right? So you want to make sure it's totally dry before you move on to the next step. All right, let's take a look at our original again. I'll keep referencing it so that you have a good idea of what the entire thing looks like when it's finished. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to paint the Colorado symbol, okay? So you just need some red and yellow paint. If you have some gold color paint or something that's a little bit more school bus yellow, that's great. And I'll show you a trick if you'd like to make it more of this golden color. You just add a touch of red to your yellow paint, tiny bit. If you add too much, it's going to make it orange, which is not what we want. We want it to still be yellow, but adding just a tiny bit of red will get you this nice gold color. All right, you're probably wondering, well, how did you get that so perfectly round? We use stencils. So here at Sipping, we use a plate and a lid, a jar lid. Okay, that's going to create our Colorado Sea symbol. Whatever you have at home works. If you have a plastic container, a lid, peanut butter lid, any plate that you can find around your kitchen, that'll work. What you want is, and this is a good way to measure it, it's about, you need two sizes, right? Like a plate and then something that's about half that size, maybe a little bit smaller, all right? So ideally you want it to be in proportion to your painting, right? So this is a really perfect size for my canvas, but maybe if you're working on a smaller canvas at home, maybe the seat is only going to be this big, and then you use like a very tiny circle stencil for the center. Whatever you have, it's going to be fine. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my plate right here about 2 inches from the left and sort of centered. We want it to have an even strip of glue on top and bottom here, so you can kind of see that visually. It's about centered. Also, what I've done is I have painted, did this earlier, a start and a stop point. Okay, so you're not going to go all the way around the circle. You're going to start here, paint around, and then you're going to stop at the second notch. All right, super important that you stop there. So I'm going to go ahead and place this on my canvas. If you don't have an easel at home, that's okay. You can paint flat on a table, any surface. You can hold your canvas on, up against something so that it doesn't tip over. But really, whatever you have at your disposal is going to work just fine. So I'm using my small brush. If you do have a small brush, it's really great that you use it just to outline the circle around our stencil here. So I'm picking up red paint, and I'm going to start here at this notch, and then I'm going to carry it around carefully. And acrylic paint, you can mix it with water, which is really great. It thins it out a little bit, makes it more gel-like, easy to work with. All right, and then I lift it, and look at that. Perfect, right? Perfect C. So go ahead and remove your plate, rinse off your small brush. And then now I'm going to use this smaller lid for the center. So I'm just going to place that right in the middle, so you'll see that it has an equal amount on the top and bottom, the same distance, right? And you want it to have the same distance all the way around the C. So just give it a quick visual check. You can ask somebody else to check you if you're not home alone. Make sure that that's on there right where you want it. And then you're going to take your yellow, and then you're going to go all the way around, being careful that you don't topple your canvas over. And then when you remove that, now you've got a perfect yellow circle right in the center. All right. Now, once you have that on there, go ahead and fill that in. And I'm just gonna clean my medium brush. Jar of water is all you need. Swirl it around, get all that paint off. Paper towels work great. Old towels, an old t-shirt you don't like anymore, you can repurpose it to clean your brushes. All right, so now I've got a nice clean brush, and I'm gonna use my yellow paint. If you want, try this trick, add a little bit of white to your yellow, just a tiny bit. That's gonna make it a little bit lighter, and it's also gonna make it much, much richer, and then you only need one coat. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill that in, nice and easy. All right, excellent. So once you have that yellow filled in, now we're gonna let that dry, and we're going to concentrate on the red now. So again, I'm gonna clean my brush. So you don't need, like I said, you don't need a lot of brushes. I am basically painting this entire painting with 2 brushes. So just you gotta make sure that you clean them in between each color grab. All right, so now I'm gonna go in with some red. So I'm just gonna pick up my red paint. And you need to connect this edge to the circle here. So I'm just going to take my brush and I'm gonna hold it really steady. See how close I'm holding it to the canvas? That's just gonna steady my hand a little bit. And then I'm just gonna drag this over and stop at the yellow. And then I'm gonna do the same thing here. Stop at the yellow. All right, so sometimes red does not cover the dark blue as well as you'd like. So another trick that you can do, if your C sort of, bumps into that blue stripe here at the bottom, you can take some white and prime where that blue is. This way, when you paint it with red, you'll have a nice bright red in here. So because the paint isn't totally dry, it's kind of mixing with that blue. That's okay. We're just priming it. This will work. And then I'm going to give this a minute to dry. All right. And then I can do the same thing here. If you notice, there's a tiny little corner where my mountain kind of intercepts with my C, so I'm just going to take a little bit of white paint and just touch that up. I'm not going to bother with a brush, I'm just going to use my finger, just like that. All right. In the meantime, I'm going to let this dry for just a minute. I'm going to paint some details on my mountain. So let's take a look at our original again. So you'll notice there's some gray on the left side of each mountain. That's important to keep that shadow on the same side all the way across. So that means like the sun is coming in from this angle, so it casts a shadow on the opposite. So that's what we want to portray. So I'm going to take my smallest brush and I'm going to mix gray. So I'm going to take mostly white, tiny bit of black. I'm going to say that's about a good shade here. I like that. And then I'm just going to come in on the left side and just paint some nice shadows in there. So notice how I let that shadow be a little bit jagged. I want it to look like the Rocky Mountains, right? It's not straight angles. It's got a lot of curves and some jaggedness to it. It makes it look a little more natural. That way they don't look like you're painting pyramids. They look like mountains. I'm going to do that over here on this side. And then on this little happy mountain here. Beautiful. Good job. Excellent. And then I like to just carry it over to the edge because I want my painting to be complete all the way around. And make sure that you take a few steps back every now and then. It's really important to look at your painting from a few steps away so that you can see where you need to make adjustments. All right, so let me just check to see if this is dry. I feel like it needs probably another minute or so. In the meantime, what I'm going to start working on is my Skyline. All right, so if you live in Colorado, you know that our most important standout building is our cash register building. And that is what we really want to focus on. Everything else is kind of secondary, so get this one right, and the rest is kind of just filler buildings. There's the Capitol, so that's kind of nice. You can kind of do a half circle there, but definitely get this guy right, and I'm going to show you a couple of easy tricks to get that absolutely perfect. All right, so I'm going to take this down for 1 second here so that I can show you how to paint that cash register building. I recommend practicing at home on a separate sheet of paper just so that you can get a feel for it. Another thing you could do if you are, if you're kind of a perfectionist and you want to make it look really, really good and you have the time, you could actually cut your cash register building out of a stencil and then use that just like we used the Colorado Sea. I'm not going to worry about it. I think that I can just freestyle it, so I'm just going to take my small brush. This is where you really should have a small brush, because if you try to paint this with a larger brush, it could be a little bit clumsy and then you'll lose some of the detail. But essentially you just want to create kind of a curved line like this. It's almost like a quarter circle, like this, and then down, and then you're going to repeat this on the other side so that it comes down like this and down. Okay, that was one practice one. I'll do another one. I'll try it again, maybe a little bit smaller. This is ginormous and it's not going to be this big on my canvas. So curve, little ways down, another curve, and pull it straight down. All right, bring this a little closer so you can see. All right, excellent. So, bring my canvas back up. Here we go. I'm going to put my register building right here. I feel like that's a really nice composition next to my C, so it kind of creates this whole visual kind of left and right, top and bottom. So right here is where my Skyline is going to go. And I'm going to put my register building right about here using my smallest brush. Maybe I'll water down my blue paint just a little bit. Always start small. If you need to increase the size, you can. You can't shrink it back down. So I always say, if you're doing something like this, start small and then you can expand it out if needed. There we go. Then I'm going to take my medium brush here. All right, medium square brush. And then I'm going to fill it in, just like this. All right, filling it in. Excellent. Let me show you a really cool trick to sort of fill in the other buildings. So I'm not going to make this exactly like the actual Denver skyline. I'm just going to, create variations of buildings in height, okay? So that's what I'm gonna do, sort of framing this one here. So, square 1/2" brush if you have it. This is where it's kind of a nice little trick to create them really, really quickly. So I can just take my brush, create a little horizontal line, and then pull down. And I'll do another one here. See how straight it makes those buildings just by going sideways and then dragging it down. All right, so I'm just gonna create my Denver skyline. I'm gonna turn the music back up. Don't worry about making it exactly like mine. Variation is just the key to being an artist and an individual. So don't worry about making an exact duplicate of what I'm doing here. Just be yourself. Drying, I can check to see if that primer coat is ready for more paint. Yep, that is dry. So now what I'm going to do is take the same brush that I used for my skyline on the sky, the medium. I've cleaned it really well. Super important that you get all that blue off so that you don't turn your paint purple. So I'm just going to make sure that that's off. Then I just wipe it off with my paper towel like that. Fresh brush, here we go. So now I'm going to take my red and I'm just going to fill in this entire area here with red. Take your time, go nice and slow, make sure that you cover up any lines that you might have, but take your brush and go all the way around, nice and clean, and all the way around that yellow as well. All right, here we go. All right, so at this point I have completed the entire painting, and I'm just going to give it a once over, take a look and see if you have any spots missing. It's a good idea to pick up your canvas, and normally I would do this bottom lip, but I'm not going to do that just for the sake of the video. But definitely go around, make sure that this is all complete. This is such a really great, fast, easy painting. You might even decide you want to paint it again. This makes a great gift. So if you have a couple extra canvases, you could even do this if you have, you know, a wood board like this. Such a great gift to give to somebody, and very easy to do. Once you do it once, you'll find that you'll be able to replicate it over and over much easier each time. Painting is like anything else, it just takes practice and patience. All right, so now I'm just touching up little areas that I may have missed with a fine brush, a small detail brush. All right, and that's it. All right, thank you for joining us. I hope that you'll check out our other YouTube videos, and definitely check out our website. Appreciate all that you have done for our studio over the last several years that we've been in business and just being our customer, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. My name is Vanessa. Stay strong, Colorado.